Now as we're at 6:31 here in KCRG TV 9, we'll start out with a live look at I-380 close to the S-curve, expecting more tight traffic today as those options, especially through downtown, are not happening because of the flood concerns. The Cedar River is expected to crest early this afternoon in Cedar Rapids at 23 feet. Here's a live look from up top, courtesy of the Tower News Network camera. You can see 2nd Avenue and the 3rd Avenue Bridge both in the background.
From your 24-hour news source, KCRG TV 9, this is continuing coverage of Flood 2016.
Thank you for joining us as we keep up with our Flood 2016 coverage here in KCRG TV 9. The good news for the forecast, we're not expecting any rain anytime soon. Should be fairly dry, but once the water starts to pull back in Cedar Rapids, how long will it linger? That's the question we'll start out with meteorologist Kai O'Mara. Kai.
That's right, and keeping a close eye on the Cedar Basin, and we're still even watching places like Cedar Falls and Waterloo, because when the crest has come through, it's taking forever for the water to actually come out of those areas. So then the big question is, when the crest hits later today, how long does this go? When can things start to return to normal again? Well, this is a rough timeline for you. In fact, remember, the major flood stage is officially at 16 feet, so crest is still anticipated to be around 23. Within the past 6 hours, the Cedar has basically leveled off at Cedar Rapids. There's still some extra stream flow up by Palo, which just crested about an hour ago. So the situation from the National Weather Service and River Forecast Center is they're a little concerned about the fact that the Palo crest has not arrived here yet, so it may creep to around 23. But I think one more foot, and that's it, because right now we're at 21.8. So I think we're at the fourth quarter here with all this. 3.5 days, though, from the crest down to major. It's still going to be a time frame that we've got to watch. And then another 2.5 days before we even pull back to flood stage. That wouldn't be until Monday, so it's still going to be elevated for quite some time, but at least, again, approaching the crest level, things are so far so good. Here's today's first alert forecast: low to mid 60s northeast Iowa, upper 60s, lower 70s elsewhere. Otherwise, looking at a pretty sunny sky today. The wind of yesterday, plan on a repeat of that, northwesterly anywhere from 15 to 25. Chris, back to you.
Thanks for the update, Kai. All the days of preparation by those who are city leaders planning to fight this. Perhaps you were out sandbagging in Cedar Rapids. It's all led up to today with sandbags and the HESCO barriers in place. The Cedar River is expected to crest today at 23 feet in Cedar Rapids. KCRG TV 9's Bria Love joins us live, and we're starting to finally see some sunlight to kind of see how the river is, how swollen it's gotten. And Bria, what can you see?
Well, Chris, we're right outside of the Mott building. This is exactly where we were standing yesterday. And yeah, the sun's coming up, so you can definitely see how much water is out here. Yesterday, we had that marker up. We were monitoring how high it was going, how far it was coming out towards us. And today, it's not really moved much since we've been here at 4:30. It's definitely not rising as fast as it was yesterday, but that water is moving fast, and you can kind of see that now that the sun is coming up. And over around the corner, that 3rd Avenue Bridge, it's right at the bottom of that. The walkway to go up to McGrath, the roadway, is completely covered in water. So yeah, a lot of water out here. These sandbags, though, out here on the Mott building, doesn't look like they're having any problems, and we're hearing that all of the levees are good out here in downtown Cedar Rapids. So that's one thing that we can be grateful for with all of this water we're seeing. But the police department does want to stress a couple of things. Please do not stand on any of those barriers or any of those flood walls to take a picture. It's not a safe place for you to stand. And also for people who are wanting to get back in here and help people in the affected flood zones, make sure that you are being careful and don't come in until that water subsides. So just stay with TV 9. We'll be here throughout the morning to give you the latest updates. Live in downtown Cedar Rapids, Bria Love, KCRG TV 9 News.
Thank you, Bria. The answers for how the city is done will start to reveal themselves pretty much later on today and for the next few days, with that expected crest at about 23 feet. So far, it sounds like the barriers seem to be holding in place. So right now, Cedar Rapids Mayor Ron Corbett is joining us. And Mayor, you're privy to more information than we are on this. So where are we right now? Have the barriers held as far as you know?
Well, the barriers are holding, and we hope they continue to hold. Yesterday I said we were in this critical 48-hour period. Well, 24 hours have expired. Now we're down to the final 24-hour countdown to where we really feel like we're out of the woods. But right now we're seeing some minor street flooding, and we have the pumps in place that's putting that back into the river. People say, why are you putting it back into the river? Is this going to come out? We built the system high enough for 26 feet,
right,
and it won't reach 26 feet, so we can push that water back into the river, and as it slowly seeps out, we'll continue to do that continuous cycle. But Football's a game of inches. I'm an old football player. Flood protection is a game of inches too. So every inch below 23 feet is a benefit to us.
Are you ready for the media then to be hosting the post-game show once this is all done with? If hopefully we can come out with a victory on this?
Well, we'll let those sports announcers handle all that, but we really feel good about the preparations over the last 4 days. You know, with the flood mitigation system being built in an abbreviated time frame, you know, there's always some concerns that you might miss something. But yesterday we went through the system and shored it up, and as soon as the sun comes up, we'll have our inspectors walking up both sides of the system and look to see if there's any potential breaches or where we might be seeing leakage.
I've equated today as the day where we all take the test in the city. After all the days of prepping, studying, pulling a few all-nighters as we've seen. What can people do today? Is there anything left that people can do? Maybe focus on shelters or offering help where they can?
Well, I think as far as all the sandbagging volunteers, we have had a great response yesterday for people to fill up some additional sandbags. So the first several days, sandbags all went to the citizens and the business. This last day, we wanted to have sandbags go to the city for all those plugs. So we're just going to kind of anxiously await, maybe shake a little bit, you know, hopefully that everything works out. We are concerned about the levee and the length of time and pressure on the base of that levee, but it all appears to be holding right now. We'll do the inspections this morning, but right now, it's a 24-hour countdown to victory.
Mayor, we appreciate your time. We'll check in at 10 o'clock again with the news conference. Thanks again for coming on in. And the curfew for areas in the flood zone on both sides of the Cedar River are in place until 7 this morning, while homes and buildings do sit empty. A constant police presence, though, is filling those neighborhoods. And KCRG TV9's Forrest Saunders is at one of the more than 70 checkpoints set up throughout Cedar Rapids. He joins us live. And Forrest, I know we're getting close to the end of the curfew. What's the vibe that's down there right now? Still pretty quiet?
It has been pretty quiet all night long, other than seeing a lot of police officers and an occasional truck or sometimes even a taxi cab. We really haven't seen much of people going in and out of these checkpoints, and that's for good reason. The National Guard, the Iowa State Patrol, local police, they're all here to make sure that the right people get inside and the wrong people stay out. And the whole idea is to provide protection to all of those properties inside, about 5,000, more than 5,000 homes and businesses inside that large evacuation zone. Let me show you what we're talking about. You can see one of these checkpoints here. We were here 24 hours ago, a little southeast of the Czech Village, and this is what these checkpoints look like. You have a couple of Iowa National Guard members stationed here. Sometimes it's the Iowa State Patrol. The Iowa National Guard is helping patrol these zones along with police. Together they have 73 total checkpoints around the Cedar Rapids flood evacuation zone and 2 others in Palo. And members were in position yesterday at noon, and they've been here. They're working 12-hour shifts, 12 on, 12 off. And these guys are doing a lot of hard work, been out here in chilly temps. You can see they've got their bathroom right here just in case. It is not easy, but they're doing it to protect these neighborhoods. And so far, we've heard from authorities, we haven't had any looting or any substantial crime in the flood evacuation zone. That's all great news. When will they go? We do not know yet. That we're going to have to wait on the river levels for that. And once those water levels go down, safety teams will go in and make sure that homeowners and business owners can return. We'll have to wait and see when that is. In Cedar Rapids, Forrest Saunders, KCRG TV9 News.
Thank you for that report, Forrest. The National Guard is in Palo today, following the mandatory evacuation for the southeast part of Palo. Workers also shut off power street by street on Monday as floodwater moved towards the homes. The National Guard is in control of closing roads and also monitoring areas there. Despite living in the mandatory evacuation area, some people like Randy Moser say they are not planning to leave unless the city makes him get out. That's because he says he is ready for this.
Concern that I have is to make sure that everybody is just that nobody gets hurt and that people keep their property and personals. I mean, it's important. I mean, it's just stuff, but it's their stuff. They worked hard to earn it.
The Palo City Clerk says the sewer system is taking on plenty of water right now. With a breach in the system, they ask that nothing go down the drains in Palo. And while so much of the focus has come from overnight for what's it going to be like once the sun comes up, here's what it looked like last night right before sunset throughout many parts of Cedar Rapids. We'll start off here from the southeast part of Cedar Rapids, 16th Avenue, from CalCam Productions, Aerial Productions. It's a look down 16th. The businesses on the right are not protected by the HESCO barriers. The ones, though, on the left are, as they are protecting this part of the Nubo neighborhood. You can see some of the water, though, does cover part of the Cedar River Trail north of the 16th Avenue Bridge. That is a very low-lying area. Now we'll go across the river into the Czech Village. The National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library does have an earthen levee around it. The museum and library, of course, is set back and further up from 2008 when it took on so much damage. There is, though, some storm sewer backup, though, some water the city says it is battling right by the 12th Avenue Bridge. You can see it. And look behind it. You saw the skate park and Riverside Park with some water. A little further upstream, Ingredient, the Pinford plant, if you will, does look dry. Again, this is from about 12 hours ago. We'll zoom past the 8th Avenue Bridge. You can see the Mott building. Bria Love has been there for the last 2 mornings. That's down the hill from Cedar Rapids Police Headquarters, along with the Knutson building, which you can see there. It is surrounded by water. The amphitheater does have water up to the first level of the Terrace Lawn seating. Then now, as the drone shifts back towards the north and a little towards the east, it will go back to the focal point of the downtown core of Cedar Rapids. At Mays Island, you can see some of the water along the edges of Mays Island. The HESCO barriers are covering 9.8 miles of the city, at least in this video from last night when it's still daylight. Mayor Ron Corbett said that the barriers are still holding. Stay with KCRG TV 9. Kai's coming up next.